Excuse me, this is private property.
Shut this off. Shut these all off.
I'm warning you, turning off these machines would be extremely hazardous.
I'll tell you what's hazardous. You're facing federal prosecution for at least a half a dozen environmental violations. Now, either you shut off these beams or we shut them off for you.
Try to understand, this is a high-voltage laser containment system. Simply turning it off would be like dropping a bomb in the city.
Don't patronize me. I'm not grotesquely stupid like the people you built.
At ease, officer. I'm Peter Venkman. I think there's just been a slight misunderstanding, and I want to cooperate in any way that I can.
Forget it, Venkman. You had your chance to cooperate, but you thought it'd be more fun to insult me. Well, now it is my turn, wise ass.
He wants to shut down the protection grid, Peter.
You shut that thing down, and we are not going to be held responsible for whatever happens.
No, we won't be.
Shut it off. Don't shut it off. I'm warning you.
I've never seen anything like this before. I don't...
I'm not interested in your opinion. Just shut it off.
My friend, don't be a jerk.
Step aside.
If he does that again, you can shoot him.
You do your job, pencil neck. Don't tell me how to do mine. Officer. Shut it off!
Welcome back to our humble San Diego podcast. I'm your host, Wesley Swanson, and alongside me is our friend and local projectionist, Mr. Chris Pawlak, returns for his special end-of-the-month takeover episode, which in this case will be a Memorial Day special where we celebrate the cultural phenomenon that is the original Ghostbusters film.
This is episode 221. We came, we saw, we did a podcast.
How are you, man? How you doing?
I'm good. I'm really tired today, though. It's been a long day. So, forgive me if I yawn on the podcast. It's not that I'm bored. I'm just super tired.
Gotcha. But before we get deeper into the focus, let's warm up with some of our usual beginning segments.
And now for a special news report. Brought to you by Drop the Mic.
The news story that I saw this morning was that Amazon is going to acquire MGM and their film library for $8.5 billion. That's billion with a B. The big get with MGM and their film library is the James Bond series. Mm-hmm. So Amazon will have control of that film library, but also, like, RoboCop is owned by MGM, which we discussed a couple months back. Silence of the Lambs, Stargate, Tomb Raider, Pink Panther, all that stuff is owned by MGM, so they're going to acquire all those films in that library. I'm trying to look, they're saying about a vast catalog of 4,000 films is what they'll be acquiring.
That's, do you think that they're going to allow MGM to kind of run as normal and not really change anything, or are they going to look to kind of rebrand it in any way?
I don't know, because for a long time MGM was owned by Sony. Mm-hmm. Now this is their film library. Like, Amazon is not going to start making James Bond movies, but they just acquired the film library. But I don't know exactly how they're going to do beyond acquiring the films. Yeah, that's my news story.
Okay, cool. Short and sweet then.
Yes, that's the only one that I saw that was of any interest to me today.
All right. Well, I don't think that's entirely true, as this week we received the first trailer for director Edgar Wright's long-awaited next film, Last Night in Soho.
Speaking of James Bond, there's a great shot when in the trailer when Thomasin McKenzie walks down the alley and steps into 60s London, and there's a big ad for Thunderball, a big billboard for Thunderball on the
Sean Connery, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the trailer looked awesome.
Yeah, it looks great. Some of his the color palette choices, it was really reminding me of Refn a little bit. Yeah,
it had that Neon Demon and Only God Forgives type look to it. I'm excited. That movie looked really good.
Yep, no doubt it's going to be a great follow up to Baby Driver.
Yeah, and I'm excited. I'm excited because that was one of the movies that got bumped last year.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the trailer said it's coming out in October, which I believe was its release date last year.
All right. I think safe to say we're both very excited for that. And then moving on to some news. I'm not sure how you're going to feel about this. I'm not sure how I really feel about this yet. But the next film in the Evil Dead franchise is reportedly going straight to HBO Max, with Sam Raimi and Bruce Campbell returning to produce. Lee Cronin will be in the director's chair this time. And the film is set to take place in the city rather than the woods, following two sisters whose family reunion is cut short when Deadites show up to crash the party.
I can't say I'm wild about that. I wish I was excited, but it's, I don't know, like I kind of feel like Ash vs. Evil Dead was a pretty good bookend to the whole universe. Now I know that it doesn't sound like Ash is starring in it, or at least Bruce Campbell's not starring in it as Ash.
Yeah, well, because he had said after they can't, because I think he was really bitter about them canceling the show. He said he's hanging up the reins, so to speak, for that character forever.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it seems like he's sticking to his guns. Although I think he did some voiceover acting work for the new Evil Dead video game that's supposed to be coming out, I think, sometime this year.
Yeah, that is pretty cool. I'll hold off on my excitement for a new Evil Dead film that doesn't star Bruce Campbell and is not directed by Sam Raimi.
I do know, and I thought it was very interesting that they're just kind of ignoring the reboot now, especially with fans. I feel like fans were really, at least they've come to really love it now, and then they're just like, no, here's this like whole new story.
Yeah, wasn't the plan with the reboot to have a sequel or two and then hook her up with Ash eventually?
Yeah, so I don't know what they're doing with this whole new other thing, or I don't know. And then why is it going direct to streaming? Is it not going to be that good, or what the hell's going on?
Yeah.
Because now, yeah, they're saying direct to streaming and it seems like no theatrical, which is kind of suspicious.
So I take it that Warner Brothers is producing it then?
Because I think New Line required the rights to Evil Dead again.
Okay. Because they used to be owned by Sony.
Yeah.
That's why they were on Stars when Ash vs. Evil Dead came out, and I believe the reboot is TriStar or Screen Gems or something.
Besides the Amazon sale, which was crazy, that was the only two pieces that I could really find that would be interesting to mention. So that'll move us into our Rex, if you got anything for me.
First, I know I recommended the Coen Brothers film the last time.
Uh-huh.
But I got to do it again because I was watching it the other morning, and then you and I spoke about it later on that day, and I want to recommend Fargo.
Okay.
The 1996 Coen Brothers film, which they had kind of a string of, well, I shouldn't say a string, because it really only was maybe two or three movies that didn't do well. And then they didn't make a movie for 4 years or so, and then they came back with Fargo, which really put them back on the map after some of their earlier films debuted to some real critical acclaim. But it's just watching it again, it toes the line between being violent and very funny. You know, it's a good crime movie, but it's also a pretty damn good comedy as well.
Mm-hmm.
And just watching it the other morning, I have no idea how Steve Buscemi never got recognized for his role in Fargo. He is so fucking funny in that movie. Frances McDormand obviously is fantastic, and she rightfully won an Academy Award for her performance. I do believe William H. Macy was nominated. You can correct me if I'm wrong on that, but the fact that Steve Buscemi doesn't get enough recognition for that movie because he is so good in it as just playing like the weaselly criminal. He's got so many funny scenes. Just watching him beat on the television set trying to get a picture is funny. Or the conversation that he has with William H. Macy later on when he's trying to get more money. And he keeps talking about the people that he and his partner killed in Brainerd. And William H. Macy has no idea what it is that he's talking about. But Buscemi keeps mentioning it like it's a big deal. But that's one of... I told you last time, it's really hard to rank Coen Brothers films. Mm-hmm. And, man, like, that one has to be one of their best. And my dad... My mom loved the movie, but my dad more so because my dad grew up in the Midwest.
Oh, okay.
And went to Minnesota a lot, so a lot of that stuff was very relatable for him. And he's the one that showed me the movie when it came out. So I want to recommend Fargo. And you and I had that discussion a little bit later on that day after I watched it.
And it's just coming up on an anniversary, right? I believe.
It's 25 years?
I think yes. I think you are correct on
that. If it hasn't passed by already, yeah, I believe it's 25th anniversary.
So is Fargo your only rec for us this time around?
I'll rec one more. I just am doing a rewatch right now, Portlandia.
Oh, okay.
The great sketch comedy series with Carrie Brownstein and Fred Armisen. That was on IFC for, maybe 7 seasons? 6 or 7 seasons? And it's like really fun, really quirky. Since it's just them two, they end up playing a lot of different roles. Sometimes even in the same sketch. And now that I'm doing a rewatch of it where I'm watching, an episode or two a day, I'm noticing a lot of the same people pop up on it. Like Steve Buscemi pops up on it a lot. Kumail Nanjiani, who I knew obviously popped up on it a lot because he always had a bunch of funny scenes, but I was surprised by how many more times he's popped up on that show than I thought. And every time he shows up in whatever sketch it is, he's always super funny. So I recommend that one.
Portlandia. It's a good Rex, man. As usual. So you're gonna hate me for this, probably, because I know you're not the biggest Snyder fan, or contemporary Snyder fan, I should say. But I watched Netflix's Army of the Dead, and I had a lot of fun with it.
Yeah.
I thought it was good. I thought the cast was really good. Especially Tig Ontario, I think her name is, who stepped...
Notaro, yeah.
Notaro, yeah, the comedian. She stepped in to replace Crystalia, who had already wrapped the entire film. Keep in mind, she was cast and had to do all the reshoots and all this stuff with not being on the set with anybody. And you can't tell, or at least I couldn't tell at all during or watching the film. But yeah, very fun, pretty authentic zombie film in my opinion. He did do the Dawn of the Dead remake, correct?
Yeah, that was his first film.
Yeah, that one's really